Welcome to the Pooch Parenting Podcast, a podcast for parents with dogs. I'm Michelle Stern, a certified professional dog trainer, mom, and former teacher. Living with kids and dogs at the same time can feel like a circus. I know because I lived it too. Join us as we interview a variety of experts and parents to discuss topics that will make parenting with dogs easier, safer, and less chaotic. Also, you can love living with your dog again. I'll always keep it real, which might even mean that you hear the messiness of life in the background on occasion, but at least you know you're not alone. If you're raising kids and dogs under the same roof, you know there is never a dull moment, especially when your little one discovers the dog's water bowl. While this might seem like harmless toddler curiosity, there are some safety concerns you'll want to keep in mind, both for your child and for your dog, and for you as well, actually. In today's episode, I'll discuss why kids are drawn to dog water bowls, the potential risks involved, and how to redirect that curiosity into safe and fun water play opportunities. So grab a cup of coffee or water and let's get into it. Now, before I begin, I want to start with a really funny coincidence. So I had been making the graphic for this podcast episode and working on my notes for the show. And I saw a post inside of a Facebook group where I'm a member. And I wanted to read it to you here just to show you that these podcast topics that I cover are not like random things that I pull out of thin air. Every podcast topic is something that has happened to one of my clients or that I've seen people experience. And sometimes I see these similar issues coming up online in groups where I kind of pay attention to what parents are experiencing when they're raising kids and dogs together. So I just want to read to you this following post to prove to you that kids playing in dogs' water bowls is not an uncommon concern. And then I'm just trying to fill random airspace with strange ideas. So I'm going to read you this post. Here we go. How do you all manage water bowl with toddlers? I don't have anywhere that I can put it that my dog can access it, and my toddler can't. My toddler loves water and will just dump it. Currently, my poor dog is surviving by me just offering a drink every hour or so. And he also knows if he whines by the sink, I'll put it down. While it's working, it is stressful for me because I worry about him not having constant access. Today, the toddler just turned 1 and is extremely mobile, can climb anything, but is not old enough for me to just say, hey, dude, leave the water bowl alone. So I am curious if any of you can relate to that. I know that from my own experience raising children, that toddlers and babies can often be a magnet to water of any kind. And the reason that kids are drawn to dog water bowls for many reasons, honestly, but they love exploration. They're curious. I like to think of children as little scientists. They're really eager to explore the world around them. A lot of kids really enjoy different kinds of sensory activities and textures. There is also some appeal of forbidden objects. So if you make a really big deal about avoiding the water bowl, don't do that, stay away from there, and those kinds of emotional responses, then it kind of makes kids want to interact with them a little bit more. That this is something that you're going to experience in the teenage years quite a lot. When you say no, they want to say yes. So now is a good time to start working on how to manage those types of situations. A lot of times kids are interested in water bowls because they want to help you. I'm putting help in air quotes here. They want to help you water the plants or wash the floor. So they may pick up the dog water bowl and try to dump it into your plants or dump it onto a dirty floor, for example, and try to swish it all around to help you. Now, one thing to think about is that if your dog can move their bowl, so can your toddler. So what do I mean by that? If your dog is clever or sneaky and ever picks up a bowl or pushes it around with their nose, your toddler can also move it. So we need to think about that when we're trying to manage how our kids behave around dog's water bowl. Now, I want to talk about just a couple of safety concerns. I realize that some of these may seem really obvious, but my goal here is to empower you as parents and to help you to raise your kids around dogs very safely. So we have to say out loud that drowning is possible, right? I know it seems really weird and it seems so unlikely that your child could drown in a dog water bowl, but people can drown in as little as an inch or two of water. And it has happened. I have seen internet links to news stories of such things, and it's horrible. What a silly accident to happen, and such a tragic, response of that. So we don't want that to happen. Obviously, slipping hazards are an issue, right? So if your toddler is splashing in the water bowl or spills it on the floor and you're not aware that they did that, you can be cruising through the kitchen or somewhere else in the house from point A to point B, as we do tend to walk quite quickly around the house to get everything done as parents. And you might not see the puddle and you might slip and fall and hurt yourself. There is also a risk that your dog could resource guard the bowl and then chase, lunge, snap at, or bite your child for getting too close to their water bowl. Some dogs are very protective of food and water bowls, or if you feed your dog near the water bowl, they may think that that the toddler is getting close to a location where food used to be. So these are all things that we have to really think about. I know they seem extreme, and you might think your dog would never do such a thing, but a lot of dogs do. Now, we have to think about how to respond. So if your toddler is interested in the water bowl, they keep moving towards it, they keep splashing in it, then we need to think about how you should handle that type of situation. So first, of course, I'm a firm believer in gentle parenting, which is not permissive parenting. I do have a podcast episode on how gentle parenting children and dogs is similar. And I make it very clear that gentle parenting is not permissive. You're not just letting your kid do whatever they want. You're preventing things that you don't want to happen, and you're being proactive. But what I would love for you to do is try to approach the situation without scolding your toddler. So maybe what we do is we say, oh my gosh, it looks like you want to play with the water bowl. Come over here, and I set up a water table for you. Let's play with water over here. That belongs to the dog. Right? So I want you to stay calm. I want you to try to redirect your child without scolding them, because then you're turning it into a bigger deal. Again, you're making it more forbidden, which for some kids makes that more appealing. And it helps for you to model appropriate interactions with water. So maybe they can help you do dishes. I do recommend you put a towel on the floor, because you may get a lot more water on the floor than you do in the sink. You do have to remember that a long time ago, I founded and ran a cooking school for children for 8 years. And so I'm very familiar with the mess that happens when kids help you wash vegetables or wash dishes. So please trust me on this. Put a towel on the floor. You can use a learning tower, which are such a great tool to give your child a safe, secure place to be elevated off the floor so they can reach into the sink to be helpful, or to just act helpful while you're doing all the work, but they feel like they're, being your little assistant. You can also use baby gates or barriers to limit access to the dog's feeding area. And when I say feeding area, I mean anytime you put down something that the dog would consume. So if the dog is drinking water, if the dog is eating out of a bowl, if you put a food puzzle in a certain place consistently, if you typically give your dog a bully stick in a certain area, this is what I'm talking about here. And we want to prevent your toddler from accessing those areas, or the dog, while they're doing those things. Now, some dogs will guard the space, like I mentioned before, where the food used to be. And so we need to be really careful that if your child sort of trespasses in those zones, that your dog isn't going to chase them out in an unsafe way. And then you can also create a designated space for your dog's water and food that's out of reach of small children. If you have a really small breed dog, they do make baby gates that have a little cutout in the bottom that was meant for cats. And so it can keep bigger kids out, but your dog can still walk through the gate to get to where they want to go. So those are some examples of things that you can do.
Now, I love to encourage, I'm going to put in quotes, legal and approved water play for children. So this is water play that you endorse as a parent, that is fun, that the kids are allowed to do, that the kids are encouraged to do. And I do have many links listed below in the show notes, and you can go to my poochparenting.net website, poochparenting.net/episode 89, if you'd like to see some water play related product suggestions that I'm going to talk about here. I wanted to make your life easier, so I just put some links to several products that I think can make water play safe and also can give you some suggestions for water bowls with dogs that can't be moved by toddlers or that are harder to splash in. So I'll talk about those in a moment. But here's some examples of some easy and fun water play activities that you can do with your kids. Now, of course, when your child is in the bathtub, that's an obvious place where they can play. You can use all kinds of toys, and I've linked to some below. But what's really fun is some kids just like to pour and scoop. And so we can give them, just your old measuring cups. You go to a thrift store even and buy old measuring cups or things of that nature, little even, plastic pots from plants and things like that. You don't have to spend a lot of money on these kinds of things. But the bathtub is a really fun place to do that. Now, for kids that are a little bit older or who really want to experiment, there are bath toys that can stick to the side of the bathtub, and that when you pour water through a funnel, they can spin and change directions, and the water pours in all sorts of different cascading directions, which is super fun. I'm also a really big fan of water tables. I used those with my kids when they were little. I tended to use those outside. At the time of this recording, it is winter, and so you may not be able to use a water table outside, or it would just freeze solid. I live in Central Oregon, and for me, it was 20 degrees this morning. Yesterday morning was 12 degrees. And of course, water outside is frozen solid. So you can certainly use water tables in the house. I would just recommend using, for example, like a potty pad, a washable potty pad. I have them for my foster puppies. They sell them as like bed pads that you could put on a bed of toddlers or even older people who have incontinence issues, so that it doesn't ruin your mattress if they have a potty accident in bed. Those are really great ways to prevent the water that they're going to play with from spilling all over your house, because it will absorb into that pad. So that's a great idea. And I can link to some of those pads below as well in the show notes. Sensory bins are really fun. You could just use, little Rubbermaid shoe boxes or Sterilite boxes, or other kinds of storage bins that hold water. And you can mix all kinds of activities together, or let your kids mix activities together. What would happen if you put dried beans into water? Or what would happen if you put dried rice into water? You can use your kitchen tools for things like this, like ladles and, like I mentioned earlier, measuring cups and things, and plastic cups and things. So these are different fun ways. They don't have to cost a lot of money, but they certainly do sell different kinds of products for kids that are super fun and colorful, and branded, of course, for children. So they cost a little bit more. You also do have to kind of teach some boundaries to help your children learn the differences between their toys, when they can play with their water toys, versus when or if they should ever even interact with any of the dog's items that might contain water. So, again, using physical boundaries is helpful. If you see your child approaching, a great gentle parenting strategy would be to approach your child and say, "Sweetie, I can't let you play in the dog's water bowl because he gets protective of it. So let's play over here instead," right? So using a phrase like, "I can't let you blah, blah, blah," is really good, because you're paying attention, you're acknowledging what they want to do, but then you're giving them, like I said before, a more legal and approved way to do that. Now, some of the links that I've included, like I mentioned, one of them is a no splash dog water bowl. So it's pretty interesting. The dog has to kind of press on a little lever that allows water to fill the basin, and they drink what's there, and then there's nothing sitting there. There's no water like available in view for your child to splash in. So that it will take a little bit for your dog to learn how to use that, but it's not difficult. You can also hang a water bowl or a bucket inside of your dog's crate or in their kennel or on the side of a pen, for example. Because remember, if your dog can move a water bowl, so can your toddler. And so if you hang one and it's fixed in a still position, then your child can't move it or spill it. And again, I have links to like a really cute watering can, bath toys, and a water table for your children. Now, I want to point out I do have a handout on what to do if your kids want to play in the dog's water bowl. And I share handouts with members of the Pooch Parenting Society. I send a handout every month to my members, and this one is in the queue coming out soon. I also have handouts available for dog professionals that you can use with your own clients, and you can get those by joining the Pooch Parenting Coach Collective, because I know what your clients need after 8 years of specializing in helping parents with kids and dogs. And so all of the handouts that I've created, just like these podcast episodes, are based on real issues that real people are experiencing. And so I'm saving you time, the time it might take and the designing it might take, which for some people is a big headache. And I've created handouts for you to save you time so you can spend more time working with your clients or your own dogs. So I hope you found today's episode helpful and you can help families or yourself to keep everything safe around your kids and dogs regarding their interest and curiosity about playing in the dog's water bowl. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Pooch Parenting Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please subscribe on your favorite podcast player and leave a review. But even better yet, tell a friend. Are you in some moms groups, perhaps? Or maybe you're friendly with your pediatrician. Please let them know that resources like this exist, because the information that I share with my people goes beyond what most baby books offer, and a lot of parents need support. You'd be doing them a favor. Thanks again. Have a great day.